Welcome to AP Biology students. This is week 17, the office hour, when we will recap some non-Mendelian inheritances as well as some non-disjunction events when not exactly the same amount of chromosomes will be present in the daughter cells. So let's go and talk about that. Mostly, that is true that the genetic material, what's in the organisms, in the cells, contain 50% from the mother and 50% from the father. But if we are talking about the non-nuclear DNA, I'm talking about the mitochondrion contains DNA, and its DNA is circular. We will get back to it, how it supports the theory that the mitochondrion was basically a individual, a single cell that got engulfed by a cell, and now they started to live together. That's the endosymbiont theory. So it has its own DNA that is different from the nuclear DNA in the eukaryotic cells. It has a circular DNA. And also the chloroplast contains its DNA, its own DNA. And these DNAs are carried along the way in heredity from the mother's side, from the egg. The egg contains the mitochondrion as well as the DNA in the mitochondrion. And when the sperm gets into the egg, the sperm's DNA, the nuclear DNA, gets into the ovum, into the cell, and the tail and the neck region of the sperm stays outside of the egg, and as well as the mitochondrion that is in its neck region, as well as the same for the pollens. The pollen grain's DNA does not get into the egg or the ovum's inside of the ovum, inside of the egg. Okay, so why is that important? So if all offsprings from that mother, that female, that egg will give rise to the same genetic characteristics what the mitochondrion contain. So the same is in here. If we check the pedigree, and we covered that last time, if we have the male and the female non-nuclear inheritance DNA, the female, they have kids, and all of them contains the characteristics. But if they, let's go and make this person cross with somebody who is not carrying that DNA in her mitochondrion. In this case, none of the kids will have or the offsprings have that trait, as well as if that person who is affected marries with, crosses with another person, but in this case, the female is affected by the chromosomal DNA abnormality, that the offsprings are all going to contain the affected mitochondrial DNA. So that is the non-nuclear DNA that's not in the nucleus. And now let's explain the non-disjunction. So the non-disjunction is when the chromosomes do not separate during meiosis. So we will check what would happen if. So I have 4 chromosomes, and one of them, and I will just put them on here, one of them is labeled as 1, and the other one is 1. One of them is red. I don't know whether you see it, and this one is blue. So they are homologous chromosomes. They are not the same with each other. They are just homologous chromosomes. We are in the T2N equals 4 because I have chromosome 2, the blue from one parent and the red from another one. They are homologous, but they are not the same. So I will put them in here next to each other. So in this case, I can write down that in here, when we have that, this is a cell where 2n, it's diploid because they have the homologous pairs, equals 4. I have 4 chromosomes. Now, we are in G1, S phase. Now, in S phase, before meiosis is happening, I will have just the DNA duplicate. So we have sister chromatids here next to each other, doubling the DNA content. This is here. This is here. And that is here. The sister chromatids are up. We still have 2n equals 4 because the sisters don't count because they contain the same genetic material. So what is happening? They will line up. Let's make this cell a bit bigger eventually. So next to each other, and the 2 is 2 next to each other. Crossing over, we are not playing it through, crossing over in metaphase, in prophase, okay? Metaphase lining up like this, good. Now this is the cell. Independent assortment would be if I switch those, right? You guys are familiar with that, good. And now let's move the chromosomes apart, and let's assume that they move apart from each other, the homologous chromosomes, and in this case, the 2 cannot separate. Okay, they will go together at this point. So this is a haploid cell. This should be haploid, but anyway, so this is going to be after the first division. 2 cells in here, n equals 1, and in here 1, 2, 3, n equals 3. At that point, after the first division, we have haploid cells, although they have their sisters next to each other, but it counts as haploid because they don't have their homologous pair. Okay, so this is the first division, and after the second division, what would happen? The sisters are separating from each other, and this is what we'll have. One cell. This will separate too. They will separate. And now it really doesn't matter how well they separate. The sisters usually separate. So what we have in here like this. This is the third cell and the fourth cell. What we can say is n equals 1, n equals 1, n equals 3 now. We started with 2n equals 4. So we have, that is the outcome. We can use a mathematical formula to write it down. So 2 of them will be n equals so basically the chromosome is N minus 1, less than what they should have. N equals N minus 1. And in here, N equals N plus 1. This is the non-disjunction. They did not separate during meiosis 1 division in anaphase 1. So non-disjunction at meiosis 1, we have 4 cells, 2 N minus 1s, 2 of them, and N plus 1, 2 of the cells. Good? Okay. Now, let's check what would happen if the non-disjunction, the non-separation happens in the second division. So I will start over a bit and put them together next to each other with their sisters. Okay, good. We will talk about why is that important. We have 2n equals 4. That is the cell. Normal homologous chromosomes will separate after the first division. Okay, we have 2 new cells. Okay, independent assortment, it can be like this or that, doesn't matter at this point. Independent assortment increases the genetic variability. We have 2 cells, and these cells, after the first division, they are haploid cells right away because they don't have their homologous pairs. This is only sisters together, but they don't have the blue 2 in here, so they are homologous cell. They are haploid cells. N equals 2 in here, and N equals 2 in here in the cell. Now, the second division, the sisters are separating from each other. Okay. Now we have 1 cell in here. That is N equals 2, 1, 2. This is another cell, N equals 2. Very good. And now let's assume the sisters don't want to separate for 1 chromosome. Let's say the 1s can separate, but the 2s will go into 1 cell. So we have a cell and another cell, and this one N equals 1 in here, and N equals 3. 1, 2, 3, because now they start to separate, so they count as 1 individual chromosome. Now, what we see is mathematically, we just say that when non-disjunction happens at meiosis 2, 4 cells again, and 2 of them N cells, and 1 of them is N minus 1. This is going to be N minus 1, less than what it should be, and 1 of them will have N plus 1. So contains more chromosomes than it should. Why is that so important? Well, there are some genetic diseases like or syndromes like Down syndrome, for example, when 21st trisomy, one of the chromosomes, the 23rd, are going to contain 3 chromosomes in the cell. This is happening either non-disjunction happened in meiosis 1 or meiosis 2, depending on but we end up in one cell, one gamete, with a little bit more chromosomes than it should be, or a little bit less. Less than two autosomal chromosomes, it's not compatible with life. So there's no one with only one chromosome, or second or third or fourth. But life is compatible with less than a normal two sex chromosomes. Like, for example, if that would be the sex chromosome, in this case, no separation of them, so it can be XO. So there's no two sex chromosomes, just only one. The O represents is missing another one. That's the Turner syndrome. It's compatible with life. It's fine, but those people are not fertile organisms. There's no somebody with only Y chromosomes got to have an X, because the X chromosome, sex chromosome in an organism can codes for some proteins that are important to sustain life. Now it comes, and please read over, there's some XXY sex chromosomes in some people, in XXX, the superwoman, like the triple X. So these are interesting stuff, but the non-disjunction, you have to know about that. Okay, how it forms. Have a good day, guys, and that's all for today.